about Jerusalem, it's in Genesis, when Abram meets with Melchizedek right here in the valley of Kidron.
Deep beneath the ancient stones of Jerusalem's Temple Mount lies something that has remained hidden for nearly 3,000 years. For centuries, this sacred plateau has been at the center of human history. Revered by three of the world's largest religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all claim this ground as holy. For Muslims, it is home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. For Jews, it is the site where Solomon's temple once stood. For Christians, it marks the heart of biblical history, tied to the ministry of Jesus himself. Every visible stone has been studied. Every ancient text has been compared with the ruins above ground. But one question has remained unanswered for millennia. What lies beneath? Excavation was impossible. The site was too sacred, too politically sensitive to disturb. For generations, the underground world remained sealed, untouched, and unknown. Until now. In recent years, a groundbreaking archaeological research initiative has begun exploring beneath the Temple Mount for the first time in modern history. But they didn't dig. Instead, they used advanced non-invasive technologies, methods that allow scientists to see through solid stone without moving a single block. And what they discovered has sent shockwaves through the archaeological and religious communities worldwide. So what did they find? And what does it mean for our understanding of history, faith, and the future of this most sacred site? Let's dive in. The story of the Temple Mount begins over 3,000 years ago, in the 10th century BCE. King Solomon built the first temple in Jerusalem, a magnificent structure that held the Ark of the Covenant and became the spiritual center of the Jewish people. For centuries, pilgrims traveled from across the ancient world to worship there. But in 586 BCE, the Babylonians destroyed it, carrying the Jewish people into exile and leaving the temple in ruins. After decades in captivity, the Jewish people returned and built the Second Temple. For nearly 600 years, it stood as a beacon of faith, even as different empires, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, conquered and ruled the land. King Herod the Great later expanded the temple into one of the most magnificent structures of the ancient world, with massive stones, some weighing over 500 tons, forming the retaining walls that still stand today. In the 1st century CE, the Temple Mount became essential to early Christianity. Jesus taught in the temple courts, challenged religious authorities, and prophesied that not one stone would be left upon another. In 70 CE, the Romans fulfilled that prophecy, destroying the Second Temple and scattering the Jewish people in what would become known as the diaspora. The destruction was so complete that ash and debris sealed portions of the site, preserving them like a time capsule for 2 millennia. In the 7th century CE, Islam emerged as a major world religion, and the Temple Mount took on new sacred meaning. Islamic tradition teaches that the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven from this very spot during the night journey. The Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque were soon built, making the site known in Islam as Al-Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, the third holiest place in the Muslim world. Today, the Temple Mount stands at the intersection of 3 major faiths, a single location tied to prophets, revelations, and sacred events across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It is perhaps the most contested and sensitive piece of real estate on the planet. For generations, scholars studied everything visible above ground, but the underground world remained forbidden territory, too sacred and too politically volatile to explore. No one knew what secrets lay beneath, until cutting-edge technology changed everything. In the 19th century, British explorers like Charles Warren first attempted to map the underground structures of the Temple Mount. Warren used vertical shafts and tunnels to investigate beneath the platform, discovering ancient water systems and the foundations of massive walls. But his work was limited, and most of the underground chambers remained inaccessible and unexplored. Fast forward to the 21st century. Israeli archaeologists, backed by advanced technology, launched a new research effort. Instead of physical excavation, they deployed ground-penetrating radar, muon particle detection, and other non-invasive scanning technologies. These methods allow scientists to create detailed three-dimensional maps of underground structures without disturbing a single stone. Layer by layer, the scans penetrated deep beneath the surface, and what they revealed was astonishing. A sealed network of chambers and passages, untouched for nearly 2,800 years. These were not collapsed ruins or random cavities. The structures appeared intact, carefully built, deliberately closed off, and perfectly preserved in time. There were no signs of fire or destruction inside these chambers. No evidence of looting or vandalism. Everything appeared exactly as it had been left, as if someone had carefully sealed these spaces and walked away, never to return. The deeper the scans extended, the more complex the system became. Connected rooms, stone-cut passages, underground corridors leading to hidden doorways. It wasn't just one isolated chamber. It was an entire underground world, operating beneath the surface, sealed away and separate from the life above. Civilizations had risen and fallen. Empires had marched across the land. Temples had burned. Walls had collapsed and been rebuilt. Yet this hidden space remained untouched beneath it all. Nearly 3,000 years have passed since human hands last entered these chambers. That raised a chilling question. If this place was meant to disappear, why was it never destroyed? As researchers analyzed the findings, another startling picture emerged. This was not a royal burial chamber or a treasury for elites. The layout, the artifacts detected through scanning, and the architectural features all pointed to something else entirely. A deeply religious space. Throughout the underground complex, researchers identified traces of objects associated with worship and ritual. Stone vessels used in Jewish purification ceremonies. Pottery fragments consistent with religious offerings. Carved niches that likely held oil lamps. These were not grand monuments meant to impress future generations. This was a living, breathing space shaped by ritual, devotion, and daily religious practice. What makes this discovery so profound is what it suggests about faith under pressure. When religious expression became restricted above ground, when official worship was controlled or forbidden, devotion moved quietly underground. This wasn't a challenge to public religion. It was a parallel system, a spiritual world operating beyond the reach of authority, shaped by ordinary people rather than priests or kings. In recent archaeological work near the Western Wall, a 2,000-year-old ritual bath, or mikveh, was discovered sealed beneath layers of ash and destruction from the Roman conquest of 70 CE. The mikveh, hewn into bedrock and carefully plastered, was found with stone vessels and pottery shards still in place, exactly as they were left when the Romans set Jerusalem ablaze. This discovery, announced in late 2024, provides tangible evidence that religious life continued right up until the moment of catastrophic destruction. These findings tell us that belief did not disappear when public visibility was lost. Faith adapted. It survived. It found ways to continue even in the darkest moments of history. What lay beneath the Temple Mount was not just archaeology. It was a testament to human resilience, to the power of devotion that refuses to be extinguished. Among everything hidden beneath the Temple Mount, one discovery stands apart from the rest: a solitary standing stone. In ancient religious traditions, such stones were powerful symbols. They marked the presence of the divine, sacred moments, and deep spiritual connection. Known as Masaboth in Hebrew, these standing stones were central to early Israelite worship before the construction of the first temple. Over the centuries, as religious practices evolved and centralized worship at the temple became the norm, many of these stones were removed, destroyed, or forgotten. They vanished from memory, lost to time, but this one remained, unbroken, undisturbed, a silent witness to centuries of history. Why was this stone left untouched while others were removed? Perhaps it was respected, protected by those who understood that removing it would cause more harm than leaving it hidden. Perhaps it held a significance that transcended the religious reforms of later centuries. Whatever the reason, its presence transforms the entire discovery. This stone is more than just an object. It is a witness to time itself, a bridge between what was officially allowed and what was quietly preserved. While walls above were torn down and rebuilt countless times, this sacred marker remained hidden but safe from destruction. Its discovery raises profound questions about continuity, memory, and the lengths people will go to preserve what they hold most sacred. For decades, scholars believed they fully understood how worship worked in ancient Jerusalem. The prevailing narrative held that religious leaders centralized all devotion at the main temple, and other forms of worship simply disappeared. Smaller shrines and alternative sacred sites were thought to have been destroyed, leaving no trace of different beliefs or traditions. But what lies beneath the Temple Mount tells a different story. A hidden shrine, carefully sealed rather than destroyed. Religious artifacts preserved rather than discarded. An entire underground complex protected rather than erased. This discovery suggests something more complex. A careful balancing act between reform and respect, between official policy and private devotion. When authorities destroy a sacred place, it sends a clear message of control and dominance. But sealing it, protecting it underground, sends a very different message. One of quiet respect, caution, perhaps even uncertainty. If religious leaders wanted these older practices to vanish completely, why keep them safe instead of erasing them from existence? The evidence points to a deliberate strategy, one that avoided direct conflict while still guiding public worship above ground. This challenges what many scholars once believed. Written records primarily tell the story of rulers and officials, the victors who shaped historical narratives. But hidden spaces like this reveal the private faith of ordinary people, voices that were silent, forgotten, or never written down in the first place. The Temple Mount Sifting Project, launched in 2005, has been painstakingly examining soil illegally removed from the Temple Mount by construction crews. Through this work, archaeologists have recovered thousands of artifacts, spanning from the First Temple period to the Ottoman era. Bronze coins, seal impressions, stone weights, terracotta figurines, and fragments of ancient vessels. Each piece adds another layer to our understanding of this complex site. History is layered with voices we're only now beginning to hear, and sometimes what survives quietly in the darkness can teach us more than what stands proudly in the light. The reaction to these discoveries reaches far beyond archaeology, particularly for the Jewish people and the State of Israel. For Judaism, the Temple Mount is the holiest place on earth, the location of the first and second temples, the spiritual center of Jewish history, prayer, and identity. For over 2,000 years, Jews worldwide have prayed facing Jerusalem, longing for the day when the temple would be rebuilt. For Israel, the implications are equally profound. Any finding beneath the Temple Mount touches the deepest layers of national memory, sovereignty, and legitimacy. Discoveries here are never just academic. They intersect with modern politics, international scrutiny, and long-standing conflict. Evidence of ancient Jewish life beneath the surface reinforces historical ties that Jews have maintained for millennia, even when access above ground was denied. Religious leaders now must consider how these findings align with Jewish law and tradition. Some rabbinical authorities have long forbidden Jews from entering the Temple Mount at all, believing that the exact location of the Holy of Holies, the most sacred chamber of the ancient temple, remains unknown, and that entering the area could violate sacred space. Historians are being forced to re-examine assumptions about continuity, worship, and survival under restriction. Israeli authorities face the delicate task of protecting sacred space while managing global attention and regional sensitivity. Every revelation strengthens cultural identity, yet risks inflaming tension in an already volatile region. At the heart of it all lies a moral dilemma. How far should a modern state go in uncovering truths rooted in sacred ground? The Temple Mount is administered by the Islamic Waqf, a Jordanian-Palestinian religious trust, under an arrangement that has been in place since 1967. Any archaeological work, even non-invasive scanning, requires navigating complex political and religious sensitivities. If something so meaningful remained hidden for nearly 3,000 years, what else might still be waiting beneath the sacred stone? What other secrets does this ancient plateau hold? And are we ready for the truths they might reveal? The Temple Mount has always felt like a place where heaven and earth meet. Now we know it also holds memories that were never written down in history books. These discoveries don't give us all the answers. They raise new questions, open new debates, and challenge old assumptions. Advanced technology continues to evolve. Muon particle detection, the same technology that revealed hidden chambers in Egypt's Great Pyramid, is now being applied to Jerusalem's ancient structures. These cosmic particles, created when cosmic rays collide with Earth's atmosphere, can penetrate deep underground and create detailed images of hidden spaces without disturbing a single stone. Israeli physicists have already begun placing muon detectors in ancient cisterns beneath the City of David, the oldest part of Jerusalem. Their goal is to map unknown chambers, secret passages, and forgotten water systems that connected different parts of the ancient city. This same technology could eventually reveal even more about what lies beneath the Temple Mount itself. But technology is only part of the equation. The real question is whether the world is ready for what might be found. Every discovery has the potential to reshape our understanding of the past, to challenge long-held beliefs, and to reignite debates that have simmered for millennia. What we've learned from these recent discoveries is that history is not finished speaking. The ground beneath our feet may still hold stories we're not yet ready to hear. Faith, memory, and identity are woven into every stone of the Temple Mount. And beneath those stones, in chambers sealed for thousands of years, the past waits patiently to be understood. The Temple Mount continues to stand as a testament to human devotion across time and tradition. What lies beneath it reminds us that sacred spaces hold more than monuments. They hold the quiet persistence of belief, the resilience of communities, and the unbroken thread of memory that connects us to our ancestors. So what do you think about these discoveries? How does this change the way we see history, faith, and the future of one of the world's most sacred sites. The story of the Temple Mount is still being written, one hidden chamber at a time. And perhaps the most profound revelation is this: sometimes the most important truths are the ones that wait in silence, preserved beneath the surface, until we're finally ready to listen.